What is up, Raider Nation? You know what time it is. Welcome into the Silver and Black Show, presented by Cox. You know who I am. I'm Erin Coscarelli. I'm alongside my all-pro tackle, Lincoln Kennedy. Link, it is so good to see you. The Raiders looking to make it 4-0. We do need to talk about how they got to 3-0 the first time in a very long time. Your take on what you saw there at that big home game win against the Fins.
The fight. It was a fight. I mean, the fact is that they got down. They got down by 14, but they stood stood the charge. Yeah. Took the fight, and then going into halftime, only trailing by 4. Making it close. That was very impressive. And a lot of times in past, Aaron, we would have seen this team collapse, and the cascade would have kept going. But the defense stiffened up after the turnovers. Obviously, the pick six is not something the defense can control. But, given a short field and getting the runs and stuff like that, as well as just picking it up on offense, taking up the slack.
Yeah, resilient.
Certainly.
Absolutely. Raiders now 3-0 for the first time in almost 20 years. Same year they went to the Super Bowl. Just saying.
No pressure.
Just saying. First half did look a little different, though, than the second half. Obviously scored more, but they ran the ball a little bit more efficiently. Link, what did you see from this team in terms of the first half?
Well, you remember how we said last week that it was going to take patience to develop the run game.
Yes.
And really, because of the amount of injuries that this team has had on offense, they haven't really been able to practice. They're going to have to use game speed as full game reps. And I thought they got into a rhythm. They understood what the Dolphins were doing, even more so in the second half. And that's when the run game started to open up. Peyton Barber got a little bit more involved in the running offense and had a big second half. And that's really was a turn. Just patience. It's going to come. It just takes time.
Yeah, we talked off camera about just the team needing to have that chemistry. Now,
Certainly.
3 games in, we'll see what happens week 4. Second 14-point deficit the Raiders have erased. And you have to feel good about the coaching adjustments they make in the first half.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think the big spark was obviously the safety. When the defense was able to get 2 points on the board, that was a big spark, and that kind of turned things around. And then more importantly, understanding how the Dolphins, which is a very good defense, how they're going to play and being able to make the adjustments that way. That was big key for the Raiders, especially in the second half going forward.
Going forward is what we're going to talk about right now. Raiders making their AFC West debut on Monday night against, guess who? The Chargers in Los Angeles. You see him right there, 2-1 right now. Gus Bradley facing his former team. I ask you, who has the advantage in this one? Do you see that as the matchup to watch out for?
Well, definitely, you can't discount the Broncos, obviously being there 3-0, but
Clearly.
The Chargers, this rivalry has always been historical. It's always going back, and there is no love lost between either of these organizations. So no one really has the advantage. It doesn't matter home or away.
Okay, well, I'll say the advantage for me would be some guys on this defense last year are now with Gus Bradley here in Las Vegas. You mentioned Denzel Perryman, of course, Casey Hayward. So some familiarity. Do you feel like that might make a difference in any way?
You know what? It's really hard to quantify because a lot of times when you're scripting your defensive plays in practice, you're not scripting them against your offense. Does that make sense? And vice versa. So I understand what you're saying about having familiarity. Casey Hayward played against Keenan Allen. We'll talk about that matchup a little bit later. But as far as it goes, a lot of times the defenses are focused on their next opponent. They're not focused on stopping their own offense until you put them in a situation like this, where you're coaching against your old team.
And it's a completely different offensive scheme for
That's
Justin Herbert.
Yes.
Joe Lombardi's offense is different than what it was under Anthony Lynn. All right, coming up on the show, Lincoln breaking down Derek Carr and his growing trust in the young receiving corps. John Gruden joining us. And, of course, the Raiders' secondary slowing down the offensive weapons. How's that going to happen? We discuss.
The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now, only at Allegiant.com.
Carr backing up to the gun, waiting, got deep man, got Ruggs open on the right, yes, Ruggs is to the 10-yard line. Takes a snap, fires on a cross, spin, jackpot, baby! And here they come, blitz is picked up, Jones is open, jackpot, baby!
Shotgun, Carr, lofts it, touchdown, Foster Moreau!
Carr takes a snap from the gun, pump fake, gonna go deep down the middle, got it, Ruggs!
It is caught, Henry Ruggs is gone! Carr, end zone, touchdown. Alec in goal. Down and 9 for the Raiders. Carr steps up. Carr, a fastball. Caught, Renfro. Touchdown, Raiders. This Vegas team has got something about them.
We have some different players at all three levels. We got some different things going on the other side of the ball. A lot of it goes together. More possessions, more. We're able to take more chances. We have thrown the ball down the field a lot, but we're able to do that because we trust we can get them on the other downs, but we also trust our defense to hold and things like that. When you win something like that, it means you're winning. It means you're winning, and it means that everything around you is going pretty well. So like I said before, and if I'm honest, I've been playing, I feel like, in command for the last 2 or 3 years of this offense. But when you win, this is the kind of cool stuff that happens.
Very cool indeed, Derek Carr. Derek Carr being named the AFC Offensive Player of the Month for the first time in his career. Of course, he leads the NFL with over 1,200 passing yards, the only quarterback, with the exception of Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, to throw for over 1,200 yards and win each of the first 3 games of the season. And we talked about reasons for Carr's success. I heard him mention trust twice when talking about downfield throws. And
it's that important.
He gave it to the defense as well, but he mentioned the word trust twice.
It's that important. And when you think about it, I think Derek hit the nail on the head when he said he's got receivers on all 3 levels. Think about this. Last year, Bryan Edwards was injured for most of the year, so they didn't get a lot of playing time. Both him and Henry Ruggs were rookies, and rookies, you have a little bit of a learning curve, especially at wide receiver. We knew what we were expecting out of Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller because they continue to develop and blossom in this offense. And it's also a maturity factor that you have with Gruden and Derek Carr now in their 4th year together. Now, that type of consistency Carr had not had throughout his career. So all of that pays huge dividends, and the fact that Carr does a lot with pre-snap reads to take shots down the field. Now, EC, I got a couple clips I want to show you, and we're going to feature some of these receivers. We're going to start with Bryan Edwards. Now, in this first instance, quarterback one-on-one, find the safety. You've got a single safety in the hole. You've got slots covered up. You've got man-on-man coverage. First of all, that's your pre-snap read. Now that you know the protection is secure, you step up in the pocket, and he throws a dart that only Bryan Edwards can catch. The reason why this is important, because there's a safety in the hole, and he's throwing in the middle of the field. He doesn't want the safety to make a play on the ball. You see it from this angle, see the vision that he shows, his peripheral vision. Step up in the pocket and watch him throw this dart that only Edwards can see because the defender has his back to the quarterback. And it's before the safety gets there. Now that's play number 1. This next one is Hunter Renfrow. Again, read the safety, single safety in the hole, slot corners covered up, you've got man. Renfrow's going to run an out and up, which is a double move route, which a lot of times when you're playing a man, it's one of the hardest ones to defend. He goes out, the defender thinks that he's going to run an out route. Derek throws it to the spot because he knows he's getting blitzed.
Wow.
Renfrow makes a great play on the football.
Huge.
And as Renfrow comes down with the football, you see how it's a big play, a big chunk of yards, deterring if you're going to blitz again. See the route? Number 40 all of a sudden, just like he's going to go on the out and try to catch up, and Hunter comes back and catches the ball.
And that's by design.
Absolutely, that's by design. An out and up route and throwing it to a position, trusting your receiver is going to get there. Last one is Henry Ruggs. Now, in order to throw this angle route, EC, you got to have time. You've got a single safety in the hole. You've got slots covered up, so you know you're going to have man-on-man coverage. The line is going to slide right. Foster Moreau is going to seal the in man on the block for max protection. This is going to give Derek time to know that angle route is going to come open. Ruggs is using his speed against Xavier Howard, one of the better DBs in the National Football League. And the great thing about this, and Derek understanding where Ruggs is, he puts this ball up in a spot where Ruggs positions his body between him and the defender and the ball. You see that? So now Howard can't make a play on the ball. He has to make a play on Ruggs, and Ruggs is a stronger one and comes down with the football.
You said mass protection. Are you liking the O-line and what they're doing, sort of?
Changing it up because you're playing against some perennial rushers, and all 4 of the 3 teams, and now this week the Chargers are no different. You want to do things like slide. You want to change up the man protection, especially deterring teams to blitz. If they're going to blitz, they're going to pay. And I think the Raiders have shown that in all 3 of these games. If you blitz, and with our speedy receivers who we have on the outside, we're going to make you pay.
Speedy receivers. I mean, you were talking about Henry Ruggs. He's averaging 21.5 yards per catch. you guys. And there was a stat that we were talking about with Derek Carr that I sent you because I was curious to get your take on it. As you take a look right here, Tom Brady #2, Derek Carr numero uno with most completed passes of 20-plus yards through week 3. And it's been kind of the theme of what we're talking about in this segment is the element of trust, but also his relationship with John Gruden.
No doubt about that, but also Derek hinted on that. For him to take that many shots downfield, they trust the defense is going to be able to make stops. So if they come up incomplete or they don't work out the way you want to, every coach wants big plays, especially in offense. But it's one of the things that Derek takes into consideration that his defense has been getting stopped. So you can take those chances. You can look for those chances down the field because it demoralizes opposing defenses. You know, think about it. If you can't play man-on-man and you can't play zone because they're going to pick you apart, if they take a big chunk like that, 20 yards plus down the field, you're not going to blitz. Or you're not going to be wanting to blitz because you don't want to get exposed on the back end.
And think of the momentum, like you mentioned, and the confidence for which we have with our offense. Going up against the Xavier Howard makes you feel a little bit better going up against the Derwin James this weekend. We've got a lot to talk about still coming up, a lot more on this show. Lincoln breaking down Derek Carr and his grooming trust in the young wideouts. John Gruden joining us on set to discuss the challenge of facing off against Justin Herbert. We'll discuss. Well, the Raiders have proven through 3 weeks that this is a different team than years past. All 3 phases have contributed to the success so far in the 2021 season, and that, you could say, is a direct reflection of the coaching staff John Gruden has brought in to lead this team. Well, they will once again be out to prove the doubters wrong against a very familiar foe just a few hours away, and they look to cement themselves atop the AFC West.
Coach, another classic, an overtime thriller against the Dolphins. I wanted to begin by talking about this week, conditioning, recovery, Monday night, a different schedule. How does your team react?
Well, we've tried to be very creative. We let the players off Monday and gave our coaches a chance to look at the Chicago Bears because we have a short week on the turnaround. So we need to always do our preparation, give everybody the same amount of time. But we brought the players in Tuesday. We watched the Dolphin film. We made some corrections. We had a nice practice Thursday. We'll have another one here today. And I think our team will be ready to go physically. 2 overtime games takes a lot out of you.
Long overtime games, especially this one. I want to go to one big play with Casey Hayward in the safety. Not only was it a monster play historically, that type of safety, but it got the crowd going. 14-0 down. All of a sudden, the Allegiant Stadium exploded.
Got me going. We were down 14-0. We needed something good to happen. We got rejected on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We had a pick 6. Things were going bad. And that play, that open field tackle, by the way, that was a heck of a player. He tackled. Waddle's a great young player. It ignited us and set us up with good field position. We got a field goal, made it 14-5, and then the comeback began. They got the wheels churning.
Derek Carr, AFC Offensive Player of the Month. That's a great accolade, but it's a team effort. Tell me about the entire team. When an award like that comes down, Derek's very humble, but going up against the quarterbacks he's been going up against around the league, that's a high honor.
Well, that's a huge honor. I remember Gannon got it in 2001. Yeah. What a great honor that was. This is significant. He's brought us from behind to win twice, overtime victories. He had a walk-off touchdown pass against the Ravens. His preparation, I think his consistency, his competitiveness, his leadership are at a different level than they have been, and they've always been high. But I give him a lot of credit. He's gotten a lot of help. I think the defense has given him more and more opportunities than he's had since I've been here, and that helps.
Let's go to Justin Herbert as we get ready for the Chargers. What does he do inside the pocket and concerns outside the pocket? He's special.
Well, he can stand in there and make all the throws. Down the field, he has different arm angles. He's explosive when he leaves the pocket. He can run. He can leave you in the dust. He can throw on the run to the right or to the left. What I admire about him for a young quarterback is he sees it well. He makes good decisions. He doesn't turn it over. and he doesn't discriminate who he throws the ball to. He doesn't care if it's Keenan Allen or Eckler or Jared Cook. He's getting the ball to the right guy on time most of the time.
Derwin James and Bosa. Derwin James is finally back. Hell of a player. He's been hurt a lot early in his career, but he's a force. Seems a lot like your defense. You got a good pass rush, and then as it goes back to the safety, solid play. The Chargers, you're concerned with them, especially on the back end if Derek wants to attack.
Well, they have a very good secondary. First of all, Coach Staley does a great job mixing up the coverage. It's hard to say, what is that coverage? Is it a rotation? Is it too deep? Is it single high? Is it man or is it zone? They do a great job mixing it up. And Bosa doesn't give you very long to throw it. This guy's a great rusher. We got to be very mindful of him. And he's got a couple other guys up there that are getting home too. But they're a good defensive team. This is going to be a handful. This is going to be a real fight for us.
A lot being made of Gus Bradley coming back, but you got a couple of coaches on your staff going back to L.A. with the Chargers.
Yeah, we got Casey Hayward going back. You know, Denzel Perryman's going back. It'll be hopefully a reunion for those guys, a good reunion. But there's a lot of respect for the Chargers in our organization. They do things right, and they got a good football team.
Coach, finally, I've been with you in London, Oakland, now Vegas. When the Raider Nation shows up, it's special. On the radio this week, and everyone's talking around the country about the turnout. You got Raider fans coming from Oakland. They're already in L.A. They're coming from Vegas. I'm not here to predict how many are going to be there, but there's going to be a lot. That's got to be encouraging when you come out for warm-ups.
No, it is. There's nothing like it. And you know, if we can just keep it going, keep improving, keep giving these Raider fans what they want. You know, a lot of energy, explosive plays, and finishing strong. I think the Raider Nation will always support us, but it's great to see them coming out with full force.
Good luck in L.A., Coach.
Thanks, JT.
The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by 1800 Tequila, the best taste in tequila and official partner of the Raiders. And by Chevron. No gasoline gives you better mileage than Chevron with Techron. Chevron, together ahead.
All right, welcome back. Silver and Black Show coming at you. EC Link with you to talk Week 4's next challenge, the Los Angeles Chargers. And let's start with their quarterback, Justin Herbert, Link, because he had a much better game against the Chiefs. He tossed 4 touchdowns, especially in a last-minute win in Arrowhead, no less. How do you make of what this sophomore quarterback is doing in terms of his involvement? Because he did struggle first couple of games, but obviously looked very solid last week.
Well, look, I am all impressed with him ever since he's come out of Oregon. You remember in Oregon, Erin, he went to the Rose Bowl and scored 3 touchdowns to help the Ducks beat Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. He has had tremendous growth with being thrusted in the starting position. And as you talked about, you know, this season struggling in the first 2 games, that guy right there, Mike Williams, we just showed, is a really big part. Yeah, big part of what they're doing well. They've got great balance. This is a team that can run the ball as well as pass. Again, Keenan Allen, this is going to be a big matchup for the Raiders defense. But they're also a good, you know, he's a versatile enough quarterback. You got to be careful because he can use his legs. He can run. And he's smart. So he's shown tremendous growth this season. And he really is fun to watch. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, he's a Pac-12 kid, but he really is fun to watch.
Well, that's what John Gruden did say is he, you know, in terms of pressuring him, you have to be very careful because this is a guy that can scramble. How do you guard against Justin Herbert? Because I do have confidence in this defense now that we've gone through a few different quarterbacks we've managed. How do you stop or contain a guy like Justin Herbert?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to exact scenario to contain him, but you want to slow him down. And the big thing is you want to be able to get pressure on him. Never want to have a quarterback sitting in the backfield feeling comfortable to go through his progression. You want him to feel a little antsy and a little bit of hurry that he wants to get rid of the ball now. And that way it plays advantage for your defense. But that also plays in the hands of our defense because they're number 1 in pressuring the quarterback in the National Football League.
That's right. And I think they're second in QB pressures, which will be an interesting matchup because, of course, yes, Herbert good against the pressure, but he also, like you mentioned, has a very lethal duo in his wideouts. Let's show you our Microsoft matchup of the week. Of course, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams up against our very own Trayvon Mullen and Casey Hayward Jr. So you see this challenge right here. What is the challenge? We talked about the quarterback. What is the challenge with these two, potentially the best wideout in the league right now?
prevent the big plays. You don't want to give up the big plays. You want to keep everything in front of you. You want to be aggressive, but yet you got to be mindful that these are big targets that they know how to use well, both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So you want to be aggressive. You want to stay within your game. Both Hayward and Trayvon Mullen will, but also know that once you get in one-on-one space, you've got to bring them down with open field tackles, because there's going to be a lot of times where you're isolated or alone, and you don't want to give up many yards after the catch.
Mike Williams has scored a touchdown in each of, he's already scored 4. I think he scored a touchdown in each of the last 3 games. So keys to victory for you would be number 1. Was it something we kind of already talked about?
Yeah, kind of already talked about it, hit on it early. Look, you got to get pressure on Herbert. You got to make the quarterback feel uncomfortable, especially when you have as good of an offense as the Chargers have. And the one thing that you have to understand, EC, is that they're good. They're really good at draw and screen games too. So the defensive line has to be aware of that. But continue to do what you've done in all 3 games to this point. Apply pressure on the quarterback, and that's one of the main keys. And then the second one is going to be, you got to score touchdowns. The big thing is, like, this is an offensive team that's very capable. Field goals aren't going to beat them. It's almost like you got to think along the lines of Kansas City. I know they've gotten progressively better each week that they've played offensively, and it's going to be a big game against the Raiders. So you got to score touchdowns in order to win this game.
And you're going to have to figure out how to slow down, stop, contain, whatever it is against Joey Bosa when you're Alex Leatherwood. Any advice for him heading into this game?
You know what? Alex has been tested pretty significantly already this year, and I commend the young man. He's still got some things to work on, obviously, but you talk about T.J. Watt, you talk about what he had to face and against the Ravens and stuff like that. There's not been a shortage. Akbar, who played with the Dolphins, there's not been a shortage of good defensive ends that are going to challenge him. But yes, they will come after him. 97 will eye on him and come after him. You're going to have to get some chip help. More importantly, Derek's going to have to be aware of where he is, because it's not just Bosa. But as Coach mentioned, they've got a couple other rushers that can apply pressure. So they've got to be real sound, and they got to have a balanced game plan. You can't just back up and throw the ball 55, 56 times a game.
I love this guy. It's so fun working with you, Lincoln. Raiders looking to make it 4-0 this week in Los Angeles and stay on that roll. That'll do it for us. For Lincoln Kennedy, I'm Erin Coscarelli. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.